realize that because I was flipping back between games there. But that is admirable of him to do
and
that.
as far as the injury, the Lamar Hamlin, I think that's his name, Lamar Hamlin, that got the Bills player that was injured there last week or last year. That it didn't appear to be anything serious. He just sort of went down on the field, and then as time went along, it got more serious and more serious. But I don't know. You would think that human nature, if you hit somebody real hard and they didn't get up, you would kind of stick around to see if everything was okay. But that doesn't seem to be the norm. Of course, the rescue people are out there pretty quick, and they take care of matters and so forth. But anyway, I bring that up because I just thought there was a lot more injuries last week on television and guys being carted off than there's been in the past.
There were big injuries like that, like you said, like McCoy and Leonard both were high-profile injuries and looked pretty serious.
Yeah. Hey, before we start talking about UT football and their big win over South Carolina last week, I want to make mention that the former University of Tennessee track and field coach Chuck Rowe passed away last week, and he was over there when I was over there, Stan.
Okay.
And we were over there at the same time, and it was a really special time for UT athletics because in the mid-1960s and the 1970s, I don't know, up until about right now, I guess, I don't think UT's all-around sports program was ever as strong as it was back then. You had Doug Dickey and Bill Battle in football.
Yeah.
They were highly successful. Ray Mears in basketball was winning over 70% of his game. Ray Buzzard in swimming.
Yep.
He was winning SEC titles and sending guys to the Olympics. Bill Wright in baseball. And then, of course, Chuck Rowe in track and field. And Chuck Rowe, 21 consecutive SEC titles. And you think about how tough it is. And there was no East and West. Right. There was just one league.
10 teams.
21. And his dual record was 130, 18-2 for 87%. 7 top 10 NCAA team finishes. And in 1967, he was the U.S. Track and Field Coach of the Year. What made it really special, he used a lot of other athletes from other sports in that track and field. Richmond Flowers was one of them, and Willie Gault. And man, I don't know. It's not quite like today where, back then it was for the good of the program. If you had a football player, hey, we don't own him. We'd rather, if he can help somebody else in another sport, go to it. You had Ron Whidbey in basketball. He played 3 sports over there, football, basketball, and baseball, and you certainly don't see much of that anymore.
No, you don't. You don't, it's starting to filter into high school. You don't see that much anymore. So that's unfortunate because I think.
Yeah.
But you're right. I remember Willie Gault. He was like, and of course he was a great kick returner, and then won all the sprints and stuff on the track team.
They had great track teams. Over 92 years old. Chuck Rowe was 92, and of course Tennessee dominated the All Sports SEC trophy back at that time. They still have that trophy now? Do they still have the
I think they do,
trophy?
yeah.
Don't hear as much about it. Hey, let's talk about Tennessee and South Carolina last week. Tennessee defeated the Gamecocks 41-20, and really, Stan, the game wasn't really in jeopardy after the first quarter. Really,
no.
Even in the first quarter, you could see, I think South Carolina's in trouble here a little bit. It just doesn't look like they're up to par. But I thought Tennessee was really impressive offensively and defensively in coming back after the Florida loss in the SEC and winning that game last
It certainly was a good night. The only negative thing was McCoy getting hurt. But other than that, I think they felt like they just dominated really both sides of the ball.
Yeah, they really did. And that's what we talked about last week. If you can control the line of scrimmage on both sides, which they didn't do in the Florida game, you can come out, and they really did that against South Carolina, no doubt about it. Marcus, South Carolina is one of these teams that they're either real good or they can be real bad.
Yeah, we saw that.
Yes.
We saw both of those things.
Yeah. Stan, now Tennessee has won 4 games. They played 4 out of 5, really basically at home, counting the game in Nashville.
Yeah.
And now they got Texas A&M coming in, and A&M's got Alabama today. They're going to come in here. We don't know what frame of mind they're going to be in. They could be high as a kite, and they're not ranked. But if they beat Bama today and they're not a big underdog, that could happen. They could come in here a ranked team next week because we haven't beaten anybody ranked.
Right.
We haven't beat anybody ranked.
Well, Virginia hadn't won a game.
No, and I think A&M's going to be they're a better football team, I think, than South Carolina.
Oh, yeah.
So I think that's going to be a big game next week coming in here. And, of course, I don't know if they lose to Alabama. Of course, if you lose, sometimes, you're better the next week. Sometimes when you win a big game, you're not as good
right.
the next week.
Exactly.
So we're kind of remain to be seen. But Spencer Rattler, last week Tennessee really controlled him. I was really surprised he didn't get out and, move around a little bit more. It didn't seem like he looked more like a pocket guy.
Yeah. He did. And I think, though, they kind of talked about what Marcus talked about, was trying to contain him in that pocket, not give him that opportunities. But, I mean, they were just after him from the get-go, though. They just dominated him up front. And, I just felt like he never could get into a rhythm.
I was, we talked about it, but I was surprised at how dominant Tennessee was, the defensive front. I didn't expect that after seeing what Georgia did. I thought South Carolina's line was better than that.
Yeah.
But Tennessee either schemed that real well, or Georgia may have some problems we're not aware of.
Yeah. Well, what impressed me about the defense last week, I was impressed with the up front and so forth, but I was really impressed at how fast they closed. Rattler, he completes a lot of passes, and a lot of those passes are short passes where guys catch and run.
Right.
And it seemed like the guy would catch the ball for South Carolina and look like he had a little bit of room, and then there would be 2 or 3 Tennessee defenders right there that would get him short, 2 or 3 yards short when they needed 4 yards or whatever. And so I was impressed with how they closed on the defensive end. I thought the secondary played better. They didn't play very well against Florida, but they showed improvement. But is this defense, and again, I think South Carolina can be real good when they're sort of front runners.
Yeah.
When they're going really good, man, they're hard to cope with. But if they're not playing very well, they're not very hard to cope with. And so, they didn't really get off to the start like they got down at Georgia, and they just didn't look to me like they had a whole lot of enthusiasm for the game. I don't know. Maybe it was the black uniform, Marcus. I don't know.
Well, if you're in South Carolina's shoes, you've put up a really good struggle against the number 1 team.
Yeah.
And maybe, I don't know how that almost win, that can be some of the hardest thing for a coach to manage. Or how confident are you? Or you go up the next week and get smacked again, and, guys are reeling a little bit.
Yeah. Well, you look at that game, South Carolina coming here after playing Georgia. I mean, you're going to get beat down there in Athens. And then you got A&M today playing Alabama. Is Alabama going to beat them down a little bit before they come in here? And then in 2 weeks, it's on the other side of the foot. We're going to have to go down to play Alabama, and then we're going to have to go up to Lexington to play.
Which didn't seem that bad, 4 months ago.
No.
Now that seems like something.
Yeah, because you got a stretch right here where you got Texas A&M. They're better.
Yeah,
I mean they're a good football team offensively and defensively. They're going to come in here and they're going to play better in South Carolina. I don't have any doubt about it. And then you got Alabama who's ranked. You got Kentucky who's ranked. You got Missouri's ranked. You got Georgia's ranked. I don't know if that's going to play out when you get to those games or not, but. That if you're going to move up in the rankings and so forth, you need those teams to be ranked. You don't need to play the South Carolinas and the Virginias and people that aren't on the radar right here. So,
but at the same time, we're sitting here and it's October 7. By the time we do the first show in November, October may have been a house of horrors for Tennessee. They could literally lose every game in the month of October.
They could go 0-3 in October.
Yeah.
If you're not,
Yeah. But I'll tell you, this SEC, Georgia's not as good.
No.
Alabama's not as good. LSU's not living up to expectations. It just looks to me like it's just, just a big old league where from week to week the home team, whoever that might be, may beat up on somebody else. And I don't know. If you go, maybe we can talk about this later. But can you go to the playoffs with a couple of losses?
No.
I don't know.
Not now.
Not now. Maybe in the future.
Give it a year.
But I can see these SEC teams having 2 losses.
And I could see the SEC getting shut out this year of the playoff.
Yeah, I think the SEC champion could conceivably have 2 losses.
And I think that would shut the SEC out. You know, it all depends. Notre Dame, if Notre Dame runs the table, I think they may be able to get in with a loss, with one loss, 1 point or a last-second loss.
Because their schedule,
right.
They
got
played
USC.
Duke was ranked last week. Louisville's ranked today. They played. They
USC.
played Ohio State pretty tough. Should have won the football game. They got Southern Cal left. They've got some ranked teams on there that they can. Of course, the problem is, they don't have the playoff game that gets them in.
Yeah, but
and the SEC is experiencing what we've seen from other conferences, and we've already seen it from the Pac whatever. But I mean, they're going to cannibalize themselves.
Right.
The difference, the SEC has had a hyper dominant team or two that could win through. Mm-hmm. They've had a Georgia or Alabama that could go through undefeated through conference play. That may not necessarily be the case. So now you're in the same argument as everybody else of, well, my 2 losses are against conference teams,
Mm-hmm.
And how do you compare that to, say somebody comes to the ACC unblemished?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Florida State, you got to throw them in too. You see that?
Throw them in there.
Yeah.
But they've already played the biggest games on their schedule for the most part.
Right.
And the only measuring stick they've got out of conference is LSU. Well, now we don't know if LSU's really as good as we thought they were.
And now they play Florida. Well, we know what Florida's.
Well, nobody knows what Florida is. Apparently they can play like demons against somebody they really don't like, and then they can go to Kentucky and lose.
So.
Yeah, we don't know. But there's one thing for sure in the SEC, there's more parity. Mm-hmm. And I think in college football all across the country, there's more parity, don't you think, Stan, than there's been in the past? Last year you're looking at, Georgia and Ohio State and Michigan. Not to say Ohio State and Michigan are still not good, but I think that gap is narrower. I think on any given Saturday, somebody can beat somebody else.
I think there's 2 things for that transfer portal and NIL. That's what's done that.
A large part of it.
Yeah. We mentioned last week that in order to beat Tennessee, you got to control the football. You got to keep the offense, Tennessee's offense off the field. Well, 24 first downs for Tennessee and 11 for South Carolina. That shoots that. You can't beat Tennessee.
No.
Not control. And South Carolina was 2 for 15 on third downs.
Wow.
So you can't beat them in that regard. Cooper Mays back on the offense. What effect, Marcus, you think he had on that offensive line? And before you start, I thought that offensive line did a great job in pass protection. He had all day back there throwing the ball last week.
If we're taking it as an example, and I'm going to say that the defenses they were facing were sort of similar, Florida to South Carolina, then Cooper Mays' leadership makes a dramatic impact. And that must be, I'm going to assume that's experience and reading what the defense is doing and being able to gel that line. But that was a dramatic difference. I mean, they played better together. They weren't letting guys come unblocked that shouldn't be unblocked. The backs were picking up blitzers. I mean, it was things they did not do against Florida.
Yep. Stan Milton, Joe Milton, 21 of 32, 239 yards. Had all time really throw the football back there. The 2 interceptions. Is this something that we're going to have to accept from Joe Milton, that there's going to be some turnovers back there compared to a Hooker last year? And we're going to have to live with that, do you think?
I think so.
He can at times be a little, in decision-making, can be a little questionable.
But, a little late. They
won the game 41-20 and got away with 2 interceptions. Yeah,
certainly. And so, I guess sometimes an interception, you just don't want to have the pick 6 like South Carolina that Rattler threw. I mean, those are the ones that are devastating because they go. But I think that's just because his accuracy sometimes is not as good, and I don't think he is able to make the decisions as quick. It might be a little bit late.
I think one of those it was just a matter if he threw the ball late.
Yeah,
and I think the other one. I kind of split the first one 50-50 with the receiver because I'm not sure they were on the same page. I think he put it where it was he thought it was supposed to be, but whether that was him or the receiver, I'm not sure.
Hey, I'll tell you what, he threw some balls Saturday that were right on the money last Saturday.
Yeah, He did.
He really did. He threw some long balls that were right there. And,
I mean, you can't really complain. 21 out of 32, I mean, that's –
And, come on, it was his first 2 interceptions.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it is his first.
And listen, in his defense, he had some drops.
Oh, yeah.
And these first 5 games, there's been some drops, Marcus, out there. Of course, he doesn't throw the ball lightly by any stretch of the imagination. And those guys are probably thinking, well, I'd rather it go through my hands than completely through my body. If I try to catch you with my chest, it's going to
go. The hands are self-defense on some of those throws over the middle, because if you don't get your hands on it, it's going to take your helmet off.
But he throws it so hard, if they hit the guy in the chest and he's up in the air, he'll get another 10 yards when he comes back down, won't he?
Yeah.
As hard as he throws it. Hey, Tennessee is off. They're off today. A good thing or a bad thing? They're in rhythm now, Stan. They got a little bit of rhythm. They got a little momentum after the South Carolina win, and now you're off.
Yeah,
what do you think? Is it a good thing or a bad thing?
You go either way. They do need to heal up a little bit. Of course, this is not going to help them any with McCoy because he's season ending, but probably get some other guys maybe that are a little bit nicked up and stuff back. But I don't know. I kind of like playing. I would rather had the open day. I'd rather play 6 or 7 games and maybe play if they'd. Of course, they can't dictate the schedule, but the open date before Alabama.
Yeah, and that's what
traditionally
when that's worked. When that happens, it's worked well. I like them to have at least one test game. So
yeah,
if you can, the way the schedule is moved around with the rotation, and it's all going to disappear after this year. But I always liked it better when you had the break between Georgia and Alabama.
I'll tell you, they beat Alabama in here last year. But I'll tell you what, you look at Alabama's schedule. I mean, they're probably playing one of the best schedules in the Southeastern Conference. I mean, week in and week out. I mean, here they are. They're down at Texas A&M this week.
Right.
Well, okay, they're at home next week, but they got a Tennessee team that's been off 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I mean, and they're going to be well rested and healed up and ready to go. And you don't know what frame of mind you're going to have in that Alabama team, depending on what happens today, because they're obviously got some offensive problems. There's no doubt about that. So we'll wait and see. One other question before we get out of here. Tennessee's 22 in the polls. Underrated?
I think so. I think slightly underrated.
I think so too.
It's hard to fathom dropping with a win. And that confounded.
And I think the only reason they did, and I don't necessarily agree with it, but is because Florida got beat so bad by Kentucky that they really look. Yeah. They're looking at that. They're penalizing Tennessee like double on that loss. I think
that could be, but still, I'm like, if you're going to take it out on somebody, do that measuring stick, then go back and reevaluate your wins over LSU or your LSU wins and losses.
And well, as we said, they're fixing to get into some ranked teams now. That's going to have a bearing either up or out. one of the two, for sure. Hey, we'll take a timeout here, and when we return, we'll provide high school scores and sports news from around the area, and veteran sports writer Marcus Fitzsimmons joins us with his feature Mark It Down. You're listening to the Sports Page, Blount County Sports Voice, and now stay tuned for the best in local sports.
Since 1925, Anderson Lumber in Alcoa has proudly served and supported our local communities. But did you know Anderson Lumber is so much more than a lumber store? You can stop in anytime and see our incredible kitchen showroom. From floors to cabinets and everything in between, Anderson Lumber's experts can help you design your dream kitchen. And then our install team will make it a reality. Wow. For anything home, we welcome you to visit Anderson Lumber in Alcoa or shop over 67,000 items online at AndersonLumberCompany.com. Anderson Lumber, since 1925.
Aubrey's is known for real comfort, real food, real good. But remember, Aubrey's is also really into Blount County. Aubrey's Maryville has been a strong supporter of local schools and sports programs for more than 15 years. From baseball to football, dance teams, and marching bands, Aubrey's has helped schools and youth programs generate thousands of dollars. It's easy for us to do because it's the right thing to do. So the next time you're looking to choose a place to eat, we hope you'll choose Aubrey's. Real comfort, real food, real good. See what's on the menu at aubreysrestaurants.com.
Merlin's Music World in Maryville is owned and operated by Dylan Davis and has been a fixture in Maryville since 1987. Guitars, amplifiers, lessons, sound system, and video system installations are products available at Merlin's. Merlin's also offers a 24-track digital recording studio featuring audio engineer Rusty Chambers. Visit Merlin's at 1920 East Lamar Alexander Parkway or call 977-0093. We all want our loved ones to be safe. Denso in Maryville is at the forefront of creating technology for safer vehicles. Join the automotive industry with Denso in a fast, challenging, clean, and safe environment. They offer great benefits and competitive pay, as well as a convenient on-site healthcare facility, cafes, fitness center, and more. Start your future now. Entry-level production positions start at $16 an hour for second or third shift. Visit densocareers.com/Maryville to learn more and apply. The Blue Tick Tavern is home to the tastiest pizza in Blount County. Try our signature Broadway barbecue pizza, grilled chicken and red onions covered in mounds of mozzarella. Or sink your teeth into our one-of-a-kind chicken and bacon pizza, made with an olive oil base, grilled chicken, bacon, red onions, and covered in Brussels petals. The Blue Tick Tavern also has salads, sandwiches, and the area's largest beer selection. Regularly recognized as the best pizza in Blount County, it's the Blue Tick Tavern, located at 128 West Broadway in downtown Maryville. The Roger L. Newman Company began in 1984 with a vision of providing Blount County with excellent heating and cooling service. Mr. Newman also wanted a real business. No gimmicks and no high-pressure sales. They just fix it or replace it. They want to stay within your budget and make you comfortable. Their motto still stands true today. Call us first, we'll be there. Call Roger L. Newman Company at 982-5446 or visit online at rogerlnewman.com. Cooler temperatures are approaching. Upgrade your furnace now for as little as $50 a month.
Your newspaper? That's right. The Daily Times is your newspaper, tailored to where you live, emphasizing the things that affect you and keeping track of the people and players in our community. The award-winning Daily Times can be delivered each morning right to your door or inbox with the latest in local news and sports. For a 30-day free trial offer, call 981-1100 and begin enjoying your life, your times, every day with the Daily Times.
Welcome back to the GOTee Sports page. I'm Mike Edwards, substituting for Donnie Moore, and it's time to look at high school scores and other athletic news from around the area. Blount County sports voice Stan Painter is here with myself and Marcus Fitzsimmons, and Marcus, we'll look forward to having Donnie back next week. He should be well rested, don't you think?
We'll hope so. I mean, I got to tell you, I want him back. I don't particularly want both jobs. I like the view from the other side of the table rather than being over here and buried in the electronics.
Yeah, well, we were a little late getting on, but better late than never, right?
Well, that wasn't exactly our fault, and we've got people hanging around ready to come on, and we're going to still pull this off.
Yeah, we do apologize for that. Let's talk a little bit about what went on last week in the area. The Alcoa boys captured the 1A Golf Region Tournament Championship this past week, and will be heading back to the TSSAA Class A State Tournament. That state tournament will be held October 12th and 13th at the Sevierville Golf Club. The Tornado boys were 20 strokes better than region runner-up University High, and they will be joining you later, Marcus. But this is great news for them. They got another shot.
This group this will be their third trip, and they got better year one to year two at state tournament, and they've got high hopes for this year. And going in with another 20-stroke win in a region is a good way to start that.
Yeah, and they're playing up at Sevierville. Will be like a home match, huh? Not too far away.
They know that course.
Yeah.
They're familiar with it.
Yeah. Alcoa's volleyballers finished a runner-up in the District 4 AA tournament. They will move on to region play next week, and Sam Thomas and his crew will be on with you here in a few minutes.
Yeah, they're anxiously waiting.
Yeah, we're ready to go. Maryville girls won the District 4 AA golf title, and will head to region play along with the Maryville boys, who finished third. The boys finished behind Bearden and Hardin Valley, but they weren't far behind in the final results. Heritage's Sophia Gambini won the girls' individual golf championship by shooting a 77 at the District 4 AA golf tournament this past Tuesday. That was held at Iguani Farms, and she'll be headed on to region play as an individual. Came in from Las Vegas Heritage, and what an outstanding job she's done.
Yeah, Coach Triber talked about her a little bit last week, even though she's on an opposing team. But she's a great player. Your disadvantage when you transfer in golf is you don't know these courses, and you have to learn the local courses really quick to be competitive on them.
Yeah. Stan, I don't know if I'm sure you are aware of it, but William Blount's sophomore Natalie Etherton, she qualified also. From what I'm reading, there's some question whether she's going to go to the region or take a trip. Do you have an update on what her situation?
They conceded their position, so she didn't go to the region. So.
Okay, so she'll be.
But she did qualify, yes.
Okay, all right. So congratulations to all those. Do you have any others? I didn't see anything else.
I think that covers the volleyball and soccer. We're going to touch on Greenback won last night.
Yeah. I've got that score, 40-24. I've got some scores here.
Okay.
I don't have many from around the area, but I've got Seymour and I've got Greenback.
This is a weird week because Blount County, basically all of our schools took the fall break, and so we don't have a lot of our scores. However, this coming up week, everybody else is off, and it's basically Blount County playing.
Yeah,
I was counting it up with some of the beat guys that have done this for a while, and I won't call him on name because he's with another station. But we were looking at next week's schedule, and it is as thin as we have ever seen a week in high school football in probably 20 years.
The Blount County schools picked a good one to be off because it was miserable last night. Pretty much the rainy. Rainy night. That's the first rainy night or bad weather night I think they've had all.
It is.
All
it's the first.
Greenback did beat Midway 40-24, improved to 3-5. Seymour, they're still 0-8. Marcus, they're still struggling.
They're struggling.
Fulton beat them 38-7. I put a few scores on here from around the league. Bradley Central beat Hardin Valley 40-7.
They're holding first place in the region with that.
And Bearden was impressive again last night, standing 38-21 over Cleveland.
Yeah.
And that's the surprising thing is because of the way region play is broken out, Bearden's actually in front of Bradley Central because they haven't lost a region game.
Both those losses are out of the region.
But both
of those losses were close. That Bearden team could be undefeated right now.
Yeah. Now they play here in a couple of weeks, I think, or maybe Bearden and Bradley, maybe the week after next.
They've still got a game to play each other, and Greenback's kind of the same way. We did the standings last night. They're in the 4th spot. The win over Oakdale looks huge now, and they've got a game against a team that hasn't scored but 6 points this year, and then they've got a really tough test in there to close out the schedule. So they can move up to 3. They could drop all the way out to 5 if they don't play right.
Yeah, and in that division that Maryville's in, Oak Ridge 35-7 or 35-3 over Farragut.
That surprised me. That final score right there.
Farragut's, and they got some tough games left.
And Farragut's though, I think they're 2-5 now. 2-5. Yeah. They had a lot of close losses, but obviously that one was not. So that's what kind of surprised me.
I think they may have taken some injuries in the loss to Bearden.
Okay.
I think that I'm not positive that's what's going on, but they come out of that game missing a couple for bruises.
A couple of games that were in William Blount's region. Science Hill 35-0 over Morristown East.
No surprise.
No surprise there. And Jefferson County 38-7 over West Ridge.
Jefferson County is really good.
I'm not surprised that Jeff County won. I am surprised by the margin in that one.
Yeah, West Ridge is 4-3, and I think that's the team isn't that the team that William Blount's kind of fighting to get in?
Yeah, I looked at it this morning. William Blount would need to either win out or have Morristown beat West Ridge if William Blount splits. William Blount's got two region games left. They got Dobbins-Bennett and of course, Jeff County. So
2 tough ones.
That's a really tough deal for them right there. So it looks like they'll miss out. But
they got Saudi Daisy left. At Saudi Daisy. Saudi Daisy lost last night to East Ridge 14-8, and they're struggling. They're 2-6.
Yeah. So
that's a very winnable game. I want to ask you, Marcus, about West. What's going on? West beat Anderson County, and West is 7-1 after last. They beat Anderson County 8-7 with 2 grand slam home runs. What's going on? West they got some injuries.
There's an injury situation going on with West that they have. Their best running back was on the sideline against Alcoa. He was dressed out but did not play. I thought he was going to be back from that score. I'm going to guess he was not.
Yeah.
And that Anderson County team has got a very good defense. They put up a lot of points on people, but not many people are going to put up a lot of points on West. I mean, Alcoa put points, but you got to remember they were put in some great situations by their defense and special teams play. So I'm a little surprised by being that low a score. I would have thought West could have put up a little bit more, but
well, it was 8-7 fairly early, and it just stayed 8-7.
I think that would have been. I think I would have liked to have been watching that one last night rather than what I was doing. So maybe the paper can spring for me to cover somebody outside of Blount County every now and then on these bye weeks.
Yeah. Well, that's all I've got. Donnie will be back next week, and so I'll turn it over to you, and let's talk some
well, if you've been watching online, you've been watching them get nervous here. I didn't tell them we kept the camera on them, so they could. But we're pleased to be joined by Alcoa volleyball team this morning, and Coach Sam Thomas has brought a couple of the Lady Tornadoes with him. And, in fact, if I'm reading my recount right, all three of them were on the alternate team, Coach.
That's correct.
So give these juniors an introduction, if you will.
Okay, from furthest left here, we have Riley Savage. In the middle here, McKenna Cameron, and beside of me is Dylan Jablonski.
So, obviously, a key part of the postseason play at this point. Tell me a little bit what do they each bring to you as far as what they do personnel-wise for you?
Okay. Well, first, Riley is our outside hitter, and she's been an all-around. All three of these ladies play all the way around, and have been pretty much a foundation of our team. This junior class, in fact, has been pretty much the bones of what we do. McKenna is a right side, again, plays all the way around. Dylan has been our utility knife. She has been everything. She started for us as an outside hitter. We've moved her to setter, more out of necessity than anything else. But again, playing all the way around, we do some unconventional things on the floor. The good thing about these ladies, as well as some of their teammates, is that they are versed in being able to do many things for us, different skill sets, and so because of that, we do some unconventional things when it comes to serve receives and various things on offense that we run. Well,
I guess we want to pick on them because Mike alluded to it, and it was obvious in the paper. District 4 AA tournament came out as the runner-up and moving on to region play. But before we when does region play start for this?
It actually starts Monday. Typically, regions are on Tuesday, but Seymour only has a single court. So we're having to play for 2 days, and we'll play Monday night at 7 o'clock versus Seymour as the regional host. And Anderson County will play Pigeon Forge at 5:30, and then the winner of those matches will play in the championship on Tuesday.
Okay, so a little bit unconventional format for an unconventional team. How about that? One of the things that kind of struck me, and I guess have to pick on Dylan a little bit for this one. 7-point service run. Those are always fun when you get to see them going on. So this is a question I always ask because it's kind of like baseball. You're always afraid the next swing is going to be the miss. So did you get nervous at any point during that run?
A little bit, but once I got like the first one in, I felt fine.
So tell us what do you look for when you serve? Are you somebody that's trying to make it drop, or are you somebody that's trying to make them go farther back, trying to play the lines? What do you do? What are you trying to do when you serve?
Well, Coach Thomas calls zones, so I just try to get it in the zone.
Does he call the right zones?
I guess so.
Typically, I try to work towards their strengths while also trying to attack, hopefully, the weaknesses of the opposing team. So sometimes I probably put a little bit more pressure on them to do things that are a little bit not in their wheelhouse. But I was very pleased for Dylan in that stretch because we've kind of had an up and down season as far as serving. So for her, that was a very impressive run for her individually. And
I'm going to stay on that same topic. McKenna had an ace that almost got you back into that third one. You put it to 24-23. Was that coach's good call, or was that just a great serve?
No, that was more her execution. And I say this all the time. People will compliment me as a coach, and I always say the same thing. It's not me. It's the girls. It's the girls executing on the floor, the girls being coachable, listening. And so that was on her. That wasn't me. She executed what needed to be done. So.
Now, I think I know the answer to this one, but I'm going to ask McKenna anyway. 8 kills, 16 digs against Anderson County. Do you prefer the kill, or you prefer robbing somebody else of the kill with a good dig?
I don't know. Both are pretty both are pretty positive in my mind. I probably prefer a kill though, because I like to celebrate with my team right after. Then I get to compliment my passer, my setter. We all come in as a team and celebrate the point instead of just we do celebrate when we get a good up and a dig, but I just like the immediate celebration right after a kill.
Now, Riley, we'll pick on you too. You had 8 kills as well. The thing that strikes me from watching some of that, I'm impressed you all got kills down, because that Anderson County front line looked like trees. I mean, they were tall and they were everywhere. How challenging is it to get a shot past that team?
It wasn't really that bad, especially on the line, because they didn't move, and I kept hitting the line, and Dylan kept setting in a spot where I could hit it, so it wasn't too bad.
So Dylan's a little bit of credit for the setups on those.
Definitely.
Huh? She's just smiling. Do you look when you're making those sets? Do you all look to see where the other team is when you're deciding where you're going to set it to and who you're going to set it to, or is it just predetermined? You know where you're going to go.
Well, I usually just it depends on who's ready to hit and where people are, but most of the time it's these two, and they just know where to hit it from what other people are telling them about the other team's defense. So
you move on to region. Are you excited about the Monday night and getting the chance to move on?
Yes.
Coach, what do you have to do from Anderson County to Monday night? What have you been trying to work on?
Well, one of the things I want to make sure and say before we continue is I'm super proud of these girls' commitment. Like you all said, with football, pretty much everybody has taken this whole week off, aside from our golf team who's back here behind us, which congrats to them on their advancement to the state. Most of their classmates and friends and everybody are on vacation, and these girls have been here. We had to adjust a little bit because we went all three. I mean, we were there Thursday night to watch the other district championship. So we had to make some adjustments on the fly. Our plan was I was going to give them this weekend off, and then we were going to work on Monday. And now we're playing on Monday. So we're actually going into practice tomorrow afternoon after church to try to work on some of the things. We've seen Seymour, not during the regular season. We went to team camp with them. But it gave us an opportunity Thursday night to watch and kind of see some of the matchup things we've got to do some adjustments. They're similar in that they do have some size on their middle. They're not like Anderson County, like you said. That's one of the biggest teams we've played in terms of height. But there are definitely some things that I think lean in our favor as far as the strengths of our team that are, I think, some of the weaker areas for Seymour. They've got a good team. They're balanced across the board, but I do feel like we have some favorable matchups, so hopefully we can execute, kind of carry out what we need to do and see another win and maybe face Anderson County again for the 4th time this season. I don't know. We'll see how it all plays out, but I'm very excited for Monday and anxious for them to go out there and show what they've got on the floor again.
Yeah. Coach mentioned you all taking kind of an unconventional approach, and I'm going to put this on McKenna. Do you feel like that's an advantage sometimes, that other teams aren't really seeing what you do every single, 2 or 3 times a week, that y'all are kind of different?
Honestly, yes. I do think it comes in as an advantage because, some teams, there's, a specific hitter that they'll continue to set every single point, and then, we start to know who they're going to set, and, like, we're able to cheat our defense, and it helps us advance, so, like, with our passing and stuff like that. But with us, like, we're a versatile team, so, like, the other team can't really figure out who we're going to set every single time. Like, we change up our sets and everything else. Sometimes we set the back row even, which is, like, most teams don't do that often. So, like, when we do, it kind of throws the other team off. So I think it does come as an advantage to be able to do multiple different things rather than just set one person.
Is it something that you kind of enjoy? Because, I mean, that's not something you see even at, like, club level or other stuff. This is something kind of unique and kind of fun.
Right.
So Coach has kind of broken down the strategy, and this is what's going to happen. How does the team feel about going to region? I mean, what's the excitement level like?
I think we're definitely excited. Of course, that does come with nerves. Like, we're definitely nervous because we all want to advance, and, like, we haven't seen Seymour since preseason, like, pretty early in preseason. So I think we're all definitely excited but also nervous. And then, of course, if we win against Seymour, we have to play Anderson County again. So that comes with some stress, too, because we all want to beat them because we played them 3 times now. Like, we want to get the dub. Like, we're trying to win.
Riley, Coach has alluded that, you know, it's key. Juniors are a key part of this team. How tight is the junior class? How tight are you all with the group sitting here on the table?
I think we're pretty close. We've been playing together since about 7th or 8th grade. And, like, our freshman year, it was pretty much all freshmen on the JV team. And then we've all come up together this year. So I think we have pretty good chemistry and we play well together.
Coach, you've told me you really like this junior class and lean on them a little bit. Does it give? I don't want to discount what you can do this year, but it's when you get to the postseason and you know that there's only so far before that win that you're going to go out with a loss somewhere along the way, unless you're state champion. You got to think a little bit about next year and being like, ooh, I like this.
Well, my assistant coach and I always talk about, I mean, we stay in the moment, but we're always thinking ahead. Like, we're always looking to the next year, and we know we've got a core foundation group that's with us right now, and hopefully they stick it out and stay with it, which I would think most of them would. But we also, I mean, we look at what are our other building pieces. And honestly, I mean, I know it's even more of a struggle for single A teams who have probably fewer numbers. But for us, it's always about a group. You got to have 4 or 5, just that core. And we look at it and we say, yeah, you know, we have an opportunity this year to really kind of push it. Most of these girls were a part of the last couple of years where we had the opportunity to advance to sectionals and have experienced that, and so they know what that is. But then we've got a group of freshmen in this year that, you know, this is brand new for them. So hopefully they get to experience that, and you know, you kind of build on that, but you're never guaranteed having that group continue on. So it is always something that, at least in my mind as a coach, I'm always thinking ahead. I try not to get too far ahead, but it is exciting. But you never know what the next year's going to bring. I mean, my son who's sitting here with me, Thad, he would tell you the same thing. Before we got into the season, I was like, oh, man, I don't know how this is going to go this year. I was really worried about how things were going to play out, but, you know, the girls always surprise me. They have been committed to each other. Their commitment to just being there every day, like I said, and carrying things out when, you know, other people are getting to go on breaks or whatever. It's really a testament to them and the, I guess all the accolades and everything that's happened this year. So yes, I'm excited this year, but yes, I am also excited about next year as well.
Well, we're going to wish you the best of luck against Seymour on Monday night. But before I let them go, I want to give them the quiz. And I want y'all to be honest here because you've been on fall break. Coach is talking about practice on Sunday. Classes resume on Monday. Everybody's got all their homework and break assignments done. Nobody's going to have to be cramming anything, right? Like, raise your hand if everything's done. Ready to be turned in when you get back on Monday. Somebody's going to be working at it before you get to practice, Coach. Well, again, we wish all the best luck against Seymour. Congratulations on the runner-up. I hope you get another chance at Anderson County, and you never know. postseason can be a fun place. But thank you all for coming in this morning, especially on Saturday during break.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And Mike, we'll go ahead and turn the page.
Okay, time to turn the page and announce the Anderson Lumber Company Player of the Week. You're listening to the Goatee Sports page, and now stay tuned for the best in local sports.
50 years and 3 generations, the people of Blount County have trusted Stevenson Tire with their vehicles and their families. Our mission has always been simple: to provide quality products at reasonable prices with exceptional customer service. Featuring tire products from Michelin, BF Goodrich, Uniroyal, Bridgestone, Firestone, and Yokohama, Stevenson Tire also offers alignment and brake services at affordable prices. Stevenson Tire Company, 2411 East Broadway Avenue in Maryville. Call 983-1621 or online at StevensonTire.net. Waters Equipment is your East Tennessee New Holland agriculture and construction dealer. Waters Equipment has been serving Blount County for 48 years and has 2 locations in Maryville for sales and service for New Holland equipment. Offering shop and field service for trucks and equipment of all brands, Waters offers equipment rentals for New Holland skid steer, Mini X, and tractors. Call 238-9000 for your rental needs. That's 238-9000. Waters Equipment New Holland. Excellence in service.
Since 1925, Anderson Lumber in Alcoa has proudly served and supported our local communities. But did you know Anderson Lumber is so much more than a lumber store? You can stop in anytime and see our incredible kitchen showroom. From floors to cabinets and everything in between, Anderson Lumber's experts can help you design your dream kitchen. And then our install team will make it a reality. Wow. For anything home, we welcome you to visit Anderson Lumber in Alcoa or shop over 67,000 items online at AndersonLumberCompany.com. Anderson Lumber, since 1925.
Aubrey's is known for real comfort, real food, real good. But remember, Aubrey's is also really into Blount County. Aubrey's Maryville has been a strong supporter of local schools and sports programs for more than 15 years. From baseball to football, dance teams, and marching bands, Aubrey's has helped schools and youth programs generate thousands of dollars. It's easy for us to do because it's the right thing to do. So the next time you're looking to choose a place to eat, we hope you'll choose Aubrey's. Real comfort, real food, real good. See what's on the menu at aubreysrestaurants.com.
We all want our loved ones to be safe. Denso in Maryville is at the forefront of creating technology for safer vehicles. Join the automotive industry with Denso in a fast, challenging, clean, and safe environment. They offer great benefits and competitive pay, as well as a convenient on-site healthcare facility, cafes, fitness center, and more. Start your future now. Entry-level production positions start at $16 an hour for second or third shift. Visit densocareers.com/Maryville to learn more and apply. Merlin's Music World in Maryville is owned and operated by Dylan Davis and has been a fixture in Maryville since 1987. Guitars, amplifiers, lessons, sound system, and video system installations are products available at Merlin's. Merlin's also offers a 24-track digital recording studio featuring audio engineer Rusty Chambers. Visit Merlin's at 1920 East Lamar Alexander Parkway or call 977-0093.
Welcome back to the Blue Tick Tavern in downtown Maryville. This is Mike Edwards along with the rest of our broadcast crew, and now it's time for the Goatee Sports Page Player of the Week segment, sponsored by Anderson Lumber Company, where quality service is always a priority, proudly serving Blount County for over 75 years. I want to call back in Marcus Fitzsimmons, and you got Alcoa Golf in here this morning, and they're back for another run at the state, and it's going to be cool next week. You can't blame it on any of the weather. It's going to be a nice, cool week up there in Sevierville. So we're looking forward to how they do up there.
We're looking forward to it, and you know, I got to give commendation again. I mean, these guys are on fall break, and they came in, they've played during fall break, just like the volleyball team we just talked to, and you know. It's kind of like when you're playing baseball and spring break comes along and everybody else goes to the beach and you're playing a tournament here in town.
I used to tell this story about Farragut baseball. John Heatherly, he'd always schedule baseball games on spring break and said they never won any games because all the players' girlfriends were down at the beach and their minds were somewhere else. Said they never beat anybody, so he quit scheduling games over spring break. So,
well, I don't think that was the case with our golf guys because They did rather well this week.
All
They're
right.
playing during break,
Yeah.
and want to thank them for coming
That they
in. Coach Coker couldn't join us, but we've got Riley Parsons, and wave for me, Riley, and we got Nevin Newman and Noah Witten. Guys, senior year, you all have been here before. That doesn't make it any easier to win region and get back to state, but you pulled it off. You had a pretty impressive display up at Graysburg. But let me start with the big question is, did y'all know where Chucky was before you had to go up to Graysburg?
No idea. No idea.
I did.
You did? Okay,
Yeah.
one did. And was that because you got lost somewhere? Or
We've been up towards that way for the last 2 years.
We were in Elizabethton 2 years ago, so it was in a similar
Link Hills
area,
was
but
in Greenville.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
we were
but-
around that area.
so would y'all just rather just play regions down here?
Absolutely.
I mean,
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, why not play on the home course if
Yeah.
you could? I guess I'll pick on Riley a little bit, but what was the biggest challenge with that course?
You know, there's a lot of elevation changes out there, so it's kind of hard to figure out where you're trying to hit into those greens. Greens were very slopey, too. The way they put some of those pins, it was really hard to kind of access them and make putts. I simply couldn't make putts out there either. But it was challenging. They set it up pretty tough for us. Thankfully, we were able to combat it a little bit and still win. But they set it up pretty tough for us.
You know, you're talking like somebody that struggled on this course. You shot a 77.
Yeah.
You were runner-up.
Yeah.
So I think you must have tackled it pretty well.
Yeah, it was a good ball striking day for me. I hit 14 greens, which was honestly probably a high for me all time. But I just wasn't making many putts. It could have been a much better day if I look back on it. But I'm still happy with it, and we still advanced, so there's not much to complain about, I guess.
And Noah, you finished third, chasing him. But what did you think of the course, and what was your biggest challenge?
For me, I was the opposite of him. I had 5 greens all day long. So it was just, after the front 9, I was actually in the lead. And then the back 9, it was just bogeys and pars all day long. So I think I hit 1 green on the back 9, so it was just me trying to get up and down from 40 yards for the entire back 9. So I really didn't give myself any opportunities at all. But getting third, I think it was a 3-way playoff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was where you lead me right where I was going. Was you ended up in a 3-way playoff? Talk a little bit about how that worked.
It was me, Carter's one man, and Cumberland Gap's one man, and we went back to the first tee. I made birdie from about 15 feet, and then they both made par, so they went to the next hole to see who got fourth. But I think that finished after the hole after that, so that was pretty much it.
So you didn't go follow them just to see what happened?
I did.
You were
did.
Okay.
There was about probably 25 people watching the group.
You could be just like, okay, I know where I am. I'm out. Y'all have fun. So I put you in the category of a golf lover because golf lovers go to see the other guys play.
Yeah.
So this leaves Nevin with the tough one here. You guys have been here before. What's different this year than the past 2 years?
Really, for us, I feel like it's so important to us because, again, it's our senior year. We've been through a lot the past 2 years, but we feel like it means a lot more to us with it being our final year in high school season. It's a really tremendous achievement for us, I believe. We were really proud of the fact that we were able to come through with a win just for one more shot at it, see if we can do, better than the last 2 years prior. Just go out there, have a good first day, and see what happens from there. I think we should take it one day at a time. We'll be good.
Now, y'all don't have to make the adjustment. I think a lot of teams, the first time they go, just the hubbub that goes around the state tournament can be a little bit off-putting because you're not used to your scores being reported and people talking to you about what other people are doing because you don't know usually. But at state tournament, you can look online and know instantly where people are and how they're playing and where you're stacking up. And how much did that impact y'all the first time you went?
Yeah, we were talking in our practice round sophomore year with how they all had it set up. We were like, this is really different. It was like, you know, they had signs everywhere for the tournament, water coolers on every hole, you know, set tee markers just specifically for the tournament. We felt very overwhelmed, I feel like, sophomore year. We did a better job last year of kind of figuring it all out, but this year I think like we know what's going to happen. We know everything that's going to be set up for it. So this year, I mean, there shouldn't be any shock, any worry about it. We should just go out there and play golf and hopefully play our best golf.
And no, just how do y'all feel about Cereaville Golf Club? I mean, it's a great course, but it can be a real challenge depending on which one you're on.
I really love that place. It is a challenge, but the more you play it, the more it's pretty much any course, but really for there, the more you know. Some holes, it's just make par. If you can get on the green or get close to the green, it's a win-win because first 5 holes, if you're 2 over or less, that's what you want. So the more I play there, the more I really don't mind the difficulty, and I just really enjoy being there.
So when you go out there, you said win-win. I really thought you were going to say win-to-win because that makes such a huge difference on that course, being down there on the water the way it is. Do you all get a practice round, I assume, sometime early in the week?
We played yesterday, actually.
Oh, you played? Okay. Mm-hmm. So did they give you an official one, or was that the official one?
They gave us an official one, but it's the day before the tournament, so we were just like, we don't want to play that day. Nevin's going to have to. But
I'm going to go out with our 4-man and go play out there.
Yeah, but we decided to just go ahead and go yesterday just because to give us some time.
And so, Riley, I'm going to let you brag a little bit here or put you on the spot. I'm not sure which it's going to be. For those who aren't familiar with it, in team sports and team golf and TSSAA, it's the top 4 scorers that count. Well, we've got the 3 of you are veteran, been there, done that, but that 4th score is critical. Mm-hmm. Talk about the guys that are going to be competing and who you're looking at, who you want to compete for that 4th score. You got some other guys on this team you really kind of rely on.
Yeah, we got Jack Smeltzer, we got Jackson Cheney at the 4 and 5 spot. They're very, very crucial. You know, if they go out there, they can even just break 90. That brings our score down quite a lot. It's huge for them to be able to play well to bring our score down. They're great guys. We enjoy playing with them all the time. They're wonderful guys to be around and play with. So hopefully they can enjoy it out there and put up a good score and help our team average shoot up, and we'd be up that leaderboard.
They've improved on their 18-hole scores a lot this year compared to last year.
And does any of that have to do with coaching from the 3 of you all sitting here?
Probably.
Probably.
Yeah, somewhat.
So, I mean, this is going to be the last one, but and it's unfair to ask you to reflect, but I'm going to ask you anyway. Playing all the experiences you've had with Alcoa Golf, what kind of sticks out to you at this point as the highlight so far? Because we're going to hope there's another one coming next week.
I'd say it was probably winning region for the first time sophomore year. It was kind of unexpected because we didn't have a great region showing freshman year, so it was kind of hard to really go into region with much confidence. And we won by, I don't know, we were down 7. We were down 7, I think, making the turn, and won by 7. So I think that was probably one of the highest moments of our career, just being able to win that for the first time and get us over that finish line and keeping momentum throughout the rest of our career.
Same for you, Noah?
For me, it was regions last year because last year was a very hard year, and also I was in like a 3 or 4 week slump in golf. I couldn't break 40 in 9 holes. And then I come out for regions after 4 weeks of not being able to do that, and then shoot a 1 under on the front 9. And then we ended up trying as hard as we could to win that, and then we ended up winning by 10, I think. And that definitely paved the way for a much needed, for this year and for last year, but a much needed state appearance last year.
And Nevin, what about you?
I would definitely agree with Noah there. Last year's region was one of my favorite times all time so far. I'm really looking forward to, the memories to come up from this state. But for me, last year's regions was so huge for us. I mean, I still remember being there on 18 green, jumping up and down after hearing what our, at the time, I think he was our 4-man, come in with his score, just absolutely sent us to the moon. We were so ecstatic for him, that we were gonna be able to go out to state again as a team was, really huge momentum started for us.
Well, I'm going to tell you, the paper as a staff, we are always excited when teams make it state. We're even more excited they got this thing out of Manchester and put it someplace where it didn't, it was not a barren plain of the prairie and had rest stops and bathrooms. But I'll let you go with this one. Favorite, the golfer you follow, the one you kind of try to emulate, who is that?
I'd say my favorite is Jordan Spieth. First ever tournament I watched was him winning the Masters, so ever since then I've kind of been closely with him. My favorite golf swing on tour would probably be Max Homa, though. I love the way he swings it, but favorite golfer in general would be Jordan Spieth for me.
For me, I've always been a pretty big Viktor Hovland fan. I mean, watching him play a lot, has really kind of motivated me to go out and just work more. I've seen him pull off a lot of good stuff, but if we're talking about favorite swings, I probably got to go with Matthew Wolff. I mean, it's one of the more unique ones out there, so that's just me.
For me, it's definitely Bubba Watson. I'm left-handed, one, and two, if you watched me play golf, you would probably see it. But other than Tiger Woods, which is pretty much for everybody, but Bubba Watson would probably be my one.
Okay. And did you all have feelings about the Ryder Cup after all the spectacle last weekend?
Sad ones, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that covers it.
Yeah.
That covers it right there.
Yeah.
Guys, we appreciate you coming in. We wish you the best of luck at state. I wish that we'd had a chance to have you on earlier in the year, but congratulations on winning region. No matter what happens, y'all have already made a real impact and a legacy to Alcoa with what you've done so far. So we'll wish you the best of luck next week. And like I said, thanks for coming in on Saturday morning when I know you'd probably rather be in bed or on the golf course.
He came from work.
Yeah,
so.
I was working, and I'm going to have to go ahead back right now. But
okay.
Thank you, guys.
Well, we'll get you back there. Mike, we'll go ahead and turn the page.
Okay, Marcus, time for a break. And when we return, it's the Boyd Sports Spotlight. You're listening to the GoT Sports page, and now stay tuned for the best in local sports.
It's payday, and on payday, you want to have access to your money right away. When you enroll for direct deposit at Knoxville TVA Employees Credit Union, your money comes to you with no waiting. It's the fastest and most secure way to get paid. Getting set up is easy. All you need is your account number and our routing number. Find out more at tvacreditunion.com.
Join us now.
Federally insured by NCUA. Some restrictions apply. Ask for details.
The Blue Tick Tavern is home to the tastiest pizza in Blount County. Try our signature Broadway barbecue pizza, grilled chicken and red onions covered in mounds of mozzarella. Or sink your teeth into our one-of-a-kind chicken and bacon pizza, made with an olive oil base, grilled chicken, bacon, red onions, and covered in Brussels petals. The Blue Tick Tavern also has salads, sandwiches, and the area's largest beer selection. Regularly recognized as the best pizza in Blount County, it's the Blue Tick Tavern, located at 128 West Broadway in downtown Maryville. Waters Equipment is your East Tennessee New Holland agriculture and construction dealer. Waters Equipment has been serving Blount County for 48 years and has 2 locations in Maryville for sales and service for New Holland equipment. Offering shop and field service for trucks and equipment of all brands, Waters offers equipment rentals for New Holland skid steer, Mini X, and tractors. Call 238-9000 for your rental needs. That's 238-9000. Waters Equipment New Holland. Excellence in service. For over 50 years and 3 generations, the people of Blount County have trusted Stevenson Tire with their vehicles and their families. Our mission has always been simple: to provide quality products at reasonable prices with exceptional customer service. Featuring tire products from Michelin, BF Goodrich, Uniroyal, Bridgestone, Firestone, and Yokohama, Stevenson Tire also offers alignment and brake services at affordable prices. Stevenson Tire Company, 2411 East Broadway Avenue in Maryville. Call 983-1621 or online at StevensonTire.net.
Your newspaper? That's right. The Daily Times is your newspaper.
tailored to where you live, emphasizing the things that affect you and keeping track of the people and players in our community. The award-winning Daily Times can be delivered each morning right to your door or inbox with the latest in local news and sports. For a 30-day free trial offer, call 981-1100 and begin enjoying your life, your times, every day with the Daily Times.
The Roger L. Newman Company began in 1984 with a vision of providing Blount County with excellent heating and cooling service. Mr. Newman also wanted a real business. No gimmicks and no high-pressure sales. They just fix it or replace it. They want to stay within your budget and make you comfortable. Their motto still stands true today. Call us first, we'll be there. Call Roger L. Newman Company at 982-5446 or visit online at rogerlnewman.com. Cooler temperatures are approaching. Upgrade your furnace now for as little as $50 a month.
Welcome back to the Blue Tick Tavern in downtown Maryville. This is Mike Edwards, and it's time for sports headlines before we get to the Boyd Sports Spotlight. And Marcus Fitzsimmons, quite a bit going on. You know, we got Major League playoff games going on, pro football, and people are still talking about Taylor Swift. She's turned pro football around, hasn't she?
Oh, yeah, because it was suffering so much before. Gosh, what did the NFL do before that Taylor Swift?
I don't know, but, boy, I'll tell you what, they're taking advantage of it. You know, my son was in New York last week, and the company he worked for got tickets to the game, so he saw that game last, Monday night, the Jets in Kansas City up there. I don't know if he saw Taylor Swift or not. We didn't get any emails or anything from him, any texts, so I don't know about that.
Well, we'll lead off with some NFL news. Let's see. Dick Butkus, middle linebacker for the Chicago Bears, whose speed and ferocity set the standards for the position in the modern era, died Thursday, the team announced. Butkus was 80. He was the first team All-Pro 5 times and made the Pro Bowl in 8 of his 9 seasons before a knee injury forced him to retire at age 31. He was the quintessential monster of the Midway and was elected to the Pro Football Hall of Fame in 1979. That was the first year he was eligible. And he is still considered one of the greatest defensive players in league history. Now, interestingly, when I did a little more digging, several opponents claimed Butkus poked them in the face or bit them in the pileups. And when asked about it, he acknowledged that during warm-ups that he would manufacture things to make me mad and do that.
Yeah.
And when the Detroit Lions, this is my favorite, when the Detroit Lions unveiled an I formation against the Bears at the Old Tiger Stadium, Butkus knocked out every member of the I. The center, the quarterback, the fullback, and the halfback were all knocked out of the game by Butkus.
Yeah, I believe it. Listen, I saw him play at Ross-Age Stadium. I guess I was in junior high school. So what would that be, Stan? 12, 13 years old maybe? Somewhere in that neighborhood. And Purdue was playing Illinois. He was a linebacker there. Purdue had some outstanding football teams, and we got some tickets and went down there. I'll tell you what, I've never in my life, if there has ever been a better linebacker than Dick Butkus, I'd have to see it, because I'll tell you what, I've never seen such carnage laying on. You know, we talked before there in the segment, Rip It Up segment on guys not checking on people. Butkus didn't check on anybody. I mean, he just left them laying out there and went on over to the bench. The only thing I remember about that game is that the fans in the stands were wanting Illinois' offense off the field so that you could watch Butkus. He was that dominating a player, and I've never seen so many Marcus Purdue running backs run out of bounds quickly. You know, they could see that Butkus coming, and they just, we better get on out of bounds here pretty quick.
I would. I mean, I just watching the old film, he scares me. But I was just impressed that, I mean, he played in Chicago in high school, went to Illinois, and played for the Bears. I mean, he really never left the Chicago area. Yeah. And, I mean, it's rare that an athlete gets that opportunity, and I don't think you're going to see anybody do that in this day and age. But the fact that he was able to do that and thrive doing it, that's just impressive.
Yeah, and I think he missed out a year or so from I think the Bears were 63 world champions. I think Bill Wade that played at Vanderbilt was on that team, Willie Gallimore and that bunch, pretty sure. It was before Gale Sayre. And he missed that never played on a championship team there in Chicago. And I was a big Bear fan when I was growing up. I loved the Bears, and of course, I didn't care much for Green Bay. That was always their big rival, the Packers and the Bears. And Green Bay had those great teams, up there with Vince Lombardi. But what a great player Dick Butkus was. And,
right, he'll be missed, and even more for his commercials.
Yeah,
I mean,
light beer commercials.
I mean, it's like at times they tried to get him to be funny or do whatever. He just played himself, and it was always fun. Staying with the Bears a little bit, they have traded wide receiver Chase Claypool to the Miami Dolphins. That was yesterday. The Dolphins will receive a 2025 sixth-round pick and Claypool, and Chicago is getting a 25 seventh-round pick from Miami. So you're giving up a 7 to get a 6 in a player. That sounds like somebody trying very desperately to get somebody off their roster.
Well, I think so. I think they had told him to stay at home the last couple of weeks, hadn't he? And so,
the Dolphins will be his third team in less than a year because he was at Pittsburgh.
Right, and
he got traded November 1st last year. But he was a healthy scratch against the Broncos and also against the Commanders.
Yeah,
which is that's one of those that's going to start people talking no matter what when you make that kind of move.
Well, and you know what? You talked about that. They didn't win a game until they won the Commanders game, which he was a scratch. He didn't, but that's the only game they won when he was there the whole time because he got traded like last year in November or something from the Steelers, and then they lost the rest of the games, and they hadn't won a game this year until that game. So I don't know. Sounds like that he might have been a little bit of a cancer of the team or something. I don't know. But
are you saying that the Bears are now looking to turn everything around?
I don't know. I don't know about that. But
they looked really good the other night.
Well, I know it. But Washington hadn't been very good since they changed their name, have they? Huh?
But they changed owners, and that's a whole different.
Yeah, that's
a whole different mess.
I think Magic Johnson got on. Did he get on pretty bad about it?
He did.
Well, I was going to mention that Magic caused commotion putting out a message about following that loss.
Yeah.
And, I mean, I could read into it that if I was on that coaching staff, I might be dusting off my resume because the new ownership has no ties to that coaching staff whatsoever.
Yeah.
Well, Mike, this one's for you. We're 2 races into the second round of the NASCAR Cup Series playoffs, and 2 drivers can breathe a sigh of relief heading into this weekend's elimination race. Ryan Blaney won at Talladega and clinched a berth in the third round along with William Bryan, who won the opener at Texas for the second round. The series is heading to Charlotte for the Roval. Is that what they call it? A Roval, when it's a road race and oval. Part road course, part oval circuit. And that concludes the round of 12. So after this is done, if the 3 race winners are in, then the next highest points. So the bottom 4 will drop off after this one, and they'll go to the round of 8 for 3 races.
Yeah. I wonder why they do that with all those other cars out there. Seems like it would make it really hard if you're competing to move on up, but you got to fool around with those other 37 or 38 cars to try to get on up there. I don't know. Maybe that makes it interesting. I don't know. I do have an announcement, though. They're going back to the Oval in Indianapolis for their race up there next year, the Brickyard 400. They've been on the road course the last several years. They're going back to the Oval next year. So, and it will not be a dual event with IndyCar and NASCAR. So back to the Ovals. That's what they're about, pretty much, ovals. But they have been putting in some road courses. But, this is an exciting time, with their playoff system and everything. They trying to make it interesting for the fans and so forth. And
I think if they could give the drivers each one of those little turtle things they use in Mario Kart, to give them one a race, I think that would make it a lot more entertaining. Especially if they get that little strawberry shortcake thing racing out there with them. Your favorite athlete, Mike Simone Biles, back in the news yesterday, became the most decorated gymnast in history won her 6th all-around title at the World Championships. She's the first female gymnast to win 6 all-around world titles, and she adds those to her accolades, which included the all-around title at the 23 World Championships. Her latest victory came 10 years after she claimed her first World Championship win at 16. So she's 26 years old, which is ancient for a gymnast. This was her 27th World Championship medal and 21st Gold World Championship medal. Combined with 7 Olympic medals, she has a total of 34. No male or female gymnast has that much hardware between the sport's 2 premier events. So,
and she didn't get through all of this. She didn't get the twisties.
No twisties involved.
No twisties, and
her only twisties were up in the air when she came.
Until her last Olympics. Had you ever heard of the twisties?
I had not.
I have not ever heard of the twisties, and I've not really heard anything about the twisties since.
No.
So I hope it's not something that just occurs when you're in the Olympics. So she's heading back, and that's next summer.
Well,
in France, if they
she's
can take care of the
try.
bed bugs. They're having a bed bug problem over there right now. So hopefully they can take care of that before the Olympics get there. But she'll be back in there, and hopefully
she says she's going to try to make this. It will be her last team if she makes it.
Well,
that's not a guarantee because
we wish her the best because it was really disappointing the last time around because she really didn't get to compete. So we'll look forward to her being there this year and hope everything pans out.
And my last headline is one we didn't get a chance to throw out there, but because it came at me late last night. District 4 AAA soccer tournament is going on today. There are 3 quarterfinal games because there's 7 teams. Bearden, as the number 1 team in the region, state, and nation, got a bye. But Heritage is headed over to Knox West tonight for their quarterfinal. Maryville is hosting Hardin Valley. And then Farragut is also advancing because William Blount forfeited their quarterfinal match.
And I believe I didn't mention it, but Maryville's volleyball still in.
Still in.
They're still in. We
they won late Thursday night.
I had them. Heritage is out.
Yes.
Maryville's still in.
Yeah. Maryville won, and they are advancing the region. And it's that case where if it was basketball, Heritage would still be in.
Yeah.
But they only take 2, and
so who's it? Hardin Valley's the other team, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Heritage finished 3rd. Yeah.
Which Lady Mountaineers had a great season, but kind of like the soccer district, it's the district of death. If you can get out of that district, your chances of going to state are pretty good.
Yeah.
Well, you're talking about Bearden soccer, number 1 in the nation. You think why are they even playing a district tournament? For number 2, I guess, or something. Yeah. But you never know. But
you got to know who's going to be that. Somebody's got to win that runner-up to go and play in the sectional.
You talk about how tough other regions are in other sports, but you look at that soccer deal. For you had Farragut and you had Maryville and you had Bearden was in there, and that's a pretty tough league in soccer.
It is.
I mean, if you can go 500 in that district, you're doing really, really well.
Yeah. You talk about how successful the overall sports are in Blount County. It's not a fluke. I mean, they're not playing just anybody, are they, Stan? I mean, these leagues and these regions, they're pretty tough. Maybe the toughest in the state.
Yeah.
And we're blessed with all these great teams here, Marcus, huh?
We are. And it's tough to win some of these. It's not a gimme, and it's, I don't want to say our sports fan base is a little spoiled, but there's a lot of success in a lot of teams in this area that disproportionate to the number of schools we have. So,
and they've been successful through the years. And Stan, success breeds success. At schools. Get that tradition built up. And
what's the Lonnieism? Run with the champions, play like a champion.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. Yeah.
It's pretty easy to run with champions.
You can talk for years about Alcoa and Maryville football, but that's just part of it. Really, when you get down to it, when you think of all the sports programs throughout, that's just one facet of it.
Yep. Well, that's going to wrap me up for headlines.
Okay.
Well, actually, I should say it wraps me up for headlines, and thanks to Mandy B Street Realty.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you saw her. If you're on social media, if you'll scroll down a little bit past the video, you'll see her on our timeline. But great little ad that she gave us a post up there. So check her out if you're looking to move around the area, or if you want to get a little bit farther away from or closer to the Smith & Wesson facility.
Yep. Okay, we're going to talk in the Boyd Spotlight, and it's going to shine on some of the top college football games from across the country. And I'm going to bring back in Marcus and Stan Painter, and I'm Mike Edwards, your host of the Goatee Sports Page. And Stan, I'm going to start with you. I'm going to talk a little bit about the Southeastern Conference races, East and West. Georgia, favored in the league. They're up at the top. Kentucky has started strong, and they play each other today. Missouri's been a surprise. They play LSU, I think, today in a big game. We'll see how they fare in that one. Florida is 1-1 after their loss at Kentucky. Tennessee is 1-1. I would think that those 5 teams right now are in the running. But, in my opinion, that East League boils down to Georgia and Tennessee. Now, that's the way I see it. But I'm telling you, Georgia, their schedule, Stan, they got Kentucky at home today. They have Vandy away. They have Florida on a neutral site. They have Missouri at home. They have Ole Miss at home. And they have Tennessee away. I can't see Georgia losing home games and what they've got. And at Vandy, because the only road game they've got is that
Tennessee.
Neutral site against Florida in Gainesville. And, I mean, heck, fire.
You didn't know what's going to show up for Florida, right?
No, you don't know what's going to show up. But looking at Tennessee, they got Texas A&M, they got Alabama, they got Kentucky, Missouri, Georgia, and Vandy. I think Tennessee's got a tougher road to hoe than what Georgia's got. If everybody's looking at that Georgia and Tennessee game to be the game to decide the East, I tell you, Tennessee's got more work to do, I think, than Georgia's got.
Right. You look at it of course, they play the same teams in the division, but
correct.
Tennessee gets Alabama, and I think Georgia, they played Auburn last week, which is a tough game for them, but still, I don't think Auburn's as good as Alabama.
Not right now.
And then I think A&M, we'll find out. I think A&M's probably a little bit better than Ole Miss.
Yeah.
Although Ole Miss has kind of been a surprise. They had a big win over LSU last week.
Absolutely, but put points on the board.
Yeah.
That they didn't do against Alabama. Marcus, over in the West, Alabama's 2-0, Texas A&M 2-0, LSU 2-1, Ole Miss 1-1. So LSU and Ole Miss, their backs are kind of at the wall, so to speak. Ole Miss has got the loss to Alabama. Alabama has got Arkansas at home. They have LSU at home. They have Tennessee at home. Wow. And they've got Kentucky and Auburn on the road. Now, this is just me talking. They got A&M on the road today. I'm thinking if they beat A&M on the road today, you can stick a fork in it in the West. You can stick a fork in it.
You could.
I don't.
Let's spin that scenario where Kentucky beats Georgia today. If that's the case, how big does that Kentucky-Alabama game become?
Well,
Bear Bryant's programs.
Yeah, well.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, if I'm marketing, I'm already working that possibility into what I'm going to be putting on my ESPN commercials.
I guess, but I'm just still seeing Kentucky as Kentucky. You know what I'm saying?
I think Kentucky's got other places. I don't know when they play Alabama. I think it's later, but Kentucky could, if they did beat Georgia, but they could stump their toe with Tennessee. Even though they've got
would hope.
Yeah,
we would hope they would.
But if they beat Texas A&M today, they'll have the tiebreaker against them,
right?
And they'll have the tiebreaker against Ole Miss because they beat Ole Miss. And then if they beat LSU at home, then they got the tiebreaker against all of those teams. You see, that makes it tough.
Yeah.
If you got to gain a game if you don't have the tiebreaker.
Right.
Somewhere.
Right. So I agree with you. I think they're sitting pretty if they win that game today.
I do
but
too.
Isn't it weird we're talking about the West coming down to tiebreakers?
Yeah.
Yeah, really. Of course, we didn't think LSU would stumble, really this month coming out of the gate. Everybody thought, this was going to be their
Troy
year,
does. Troy was always on that bandwagon since he's not here.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about the games. Number 11, Alabama's at Texas A&M, and Alabama's about a 1.5-point favorite. Huge game in the SEC West. Whoever comes out is going to be on top. The game's on CBS at 3:30. Alabama played much better last week at Mississippi State. Of course, Mississippi State struggling quite a bit. But the Tide's offense, still a work in progress. Texas A&M appears to be better offensively and defensively. And Jimbo Fisher has been pretty successful against Nick Saban, especially in College Station.
Yeah, he has. Last time there, that was a good. And I think there's some questions about the health of the quarterback in there, Marcus, for Alabama, about being 100%. And I think that's why that line has continuously dropped all week, and it's down to 1.5 now. So, but, you know, I think Alabama, they've decided that they're going to let him do what he wants, you kind of, you know, beat him with his legs and so forth, and pick instead of. So, but we'll see. We'll see there in A&M. Of course, A&M, you know,
most overhyped team of last season.
Yeah. So you figure
they lost their starting quarterback.
Right. Max Johnson, I think, is the quarterback now, though. He was at LSU, and so he's been around a couple at Florida. Was at Florida, too. So, but he's certainly an experienced quarterback. But, you know, Bobby Petrino's, I guess, running the offense now.
I mean, he looked pretty good last week.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can compare last week to an Alabama defense, but, you know, A&M just has this thing with Alabama. They seem to play their best game against them.
Yeah.
Going all the way back to, you know, when Manziel was, you know, he played some great games against when Johnny Manziel was playing for A&M, and they went into Tuscaloosa and beat them.
Right.
And so forth. So I agree with that. But, you know, it's a big game in the West. You know, you hate to say that it's a big game this early, because I still feel like we're early in the college season. It's the first weekend in October. But as you just laid it out right there, if Alabama doesn't lose today, who's going to beat them?
Exactly.
And even if Tennessee beats them down the line, they're still going to have all the tiebreakers because, you know, out of the non-district or non-division game.
Number 23 LSU is at number 21 Missouri. That game's at 12 o'clock on ESPN, and LSU's a 4-point favorite. They lost a shootout last week to Mississippi. 55-49 or something like that. And boy, what a game that was. And Missouri, surprise team in the SEC, but it's like they're not getting a whole lot of respect. They've gotten really no respect whatsoever up to this point.
They're in the top 25 for beating a team with the last-second field goal that hasn't looked that good since then.
That got beat last night by a 2-2 Oklahoma State team. So.
Right.
Yeah, if you watched that game last night, I'm just surprised they were within a field goal of an SEC team, because they did not look that good last night.
Yeah, well, but Missouri, you know, heck, you know, when they first came into the league, Stan, they were pretty strong. Then they just kind of went into the cellar.
I think it's when what was the coach there that was Gary Pinkel, I think was his name, that was there, and they went to the championship game won the East a couple times, but I don't know. I think this guy they got now might be able to build them back, but I think the jury's still out on them right now, because they've played Kansas State win. Other than that, I mean, even their conference games, they beat Vanderbilt. I'm not sure who else. If they played anybody else out of conference, I'm not sure. But so we'll find out more about it today and as we goes along. But I just don't think they've got the depth and to play with Georgia and Tennessee.
I mean, they can make a believer out of me today. I just don't anticipate that.
Yeah, Memphis probably the best team they've played.
Yeah, I forgot they played Memphis. Yeah,
which is important to them in recruiting circles.
They beat LSU today. All bets are off on Missouri. You got to look at them as a dark horse contender for sure in the East. Number 20 Kentucky is at number 1 Georgia. That game's at 7 o'clock on ESPN. Of course, Kentucky got the big win over Kentucky at home. Or Kentucky got the big win over Florida at home last week. And, boy, you talk about national respect. Kentucky could get it. He could get it today, Stan. And, in past years, I think last year they had Kentucky in the top 10 preseason.
Yeah.
And then they started and they just kind of fell off. But, a lot takes place in this Kentucky-Georgia game every year, because it seems like if Georgia whips them pretty good, they don't respond.
Right.
Kentucky doesn't respond very well. So Georgia's a 14.5-point favorite, but boy, they're still having trouble getting out of the gate. Boy, if there's a racehorse, they'd have some time. You put Georgia in the Kentucky Derby, you're hoping maybe somewhere around the third or fourth turn they might make a move. Going down the home stretch. I I don't know, but
I'm
they
glad
can't
you
get
got
out
them
of
that
the
far
gate.
down. You got them that far down the track. I think there's somebody that's got to come out with stable boy who's got to come out and clean up a little bit because they haven't left the gate yet.
Exactly. And if you're a Georgia fan today and you're going, my gosh, we scored twice in the first quarter, I'm really worried about this game, aren't you? Because we don't ever do that. Huh?
That's after last. Last week was more concerning to me than South Carolina game was for Georgia's sake, and we'll see if they can get that spark back. But you know, what impressed me about Kentucky was not that they beat Florida, because this was the third time they beat them, but they just dominated Florida physically. They ran over the Gators.
They beat them up. What they did.
I think that Georgia will try to make the quarterback beat them, though. You know, I mean, I think Kentucky is kind of one-dimensional. Well, the quarterback's not been proven, you know, I think, and so we'll see. We'll see what happens there, but Georgia's had trouble this year stopping the run.
That's what concerns me, because, I mean, Tennessee couldn't run against Florida.
Right.
They had the best rushing game in the conference going into that game, but Florida couldn't. I mean, they were just looking. Yeah. They were paper tackling. It was just like little grabs until they got into the secondary.
Hey, I think about Georgia. They say, well, they're not as good as they've been last year and the year before. But I'll tell you something, when the game's on the line, that Auburn game, they could have lost that game last week. They had to win it right there at the end. But when those games are on the line and you've been where you've been, hey, it takes some doing to knock them off.
Yeah, I agree. And, you know, the quarterback takes a lot down there, and he's actually better, I think, than what he gets for back. I think the problem's their defense. Their defense is not nearly as good, and but I mean, you know, that tight end Bowers is unbelievable. I mean, they find out ways to get him the ball. I mean, it's lights out when he catches it open field.
Yeah. Arkansas is at Ole Miss. Ole Miss is 11.5-point favorite, roughly. That game's at 7:30 on the SEC network. Well, they got a lot of games at 7 and 7:30 that are top games.
There are not a lot of early games, and I don't know why. I guess because
I think there's a lot of teams on bye. Like this week and next week, there's a lot of bye games, and bye weeks.
But, I mean, if you want to watch the ALDS, you're fine. But if you want to watch the NLDS, you got a lot of competition tonight, because there's a lot of night games.
We just talked about how Georgia knows how to win football games. Well, Arkansas knows how to lose football games. I'm telling you, if you want to label them, Marcus, you got to label them as they just play good enough to get beat. I mean, they're not bad. They just play good enough to, gosh, we lost.
It makes for tender barbecue.
I've never seen anything like it. You know, you just never know. You know what you're going to get with them. But they're in a heap of trouble now. I mean, they've got to go down there to Ole Miss, and they're going to have to put up some pretty hefty points, Stan, to beat them.
Yeah, and I don't see them.
Offense.
I don't see them doing that. But you said they've already lost a couple of games well, they've lost 3. They lost to BYU too, out of conference, so they're like 2 and 3. So I mean,
they need to get back home. I think they've been on the road for quite.
Well, I think the last week's game was technically they were the home team, because that was on a neutral side there.
But they're still not at home.
No, they're not. They probably they had to travel farther than A&M did.
Man, yeah, take me back home to play a game. But
and I think it'll be interesting to see, because you know we've knocked Kiffin for a while now, but he got his signature win.
Yeah,
I mean, he beat LSU, won a shootout.
No.
I want to see how they follow through on that. I want to see if they are playing this to that same level, or if they're doing that whole cocky, we've done this, we've done that, and come out flat.
Yeah, and you know, it's that big game, next game scenario. Mm-hmm. Here's Ole Miss that beat LSU, and they stormed the field, and it cost them $100,000+, and they're all fired up, and everybody's patting them on the back, you know, thinking, you know, you got it going now. And there you go. You got a dangerous Arkansas team that's just losing close games coming in there. You got to be careful.
Yeah.
You got to be a little careful here. Vanderbilt is at Florida. Florida's an 18.5-point favorite, 4 o'clock on the SEC network. Stan, I don't know what Florida team's going to show up here, but I can tell you this: if they lose at to Vanderbilt today,
Billy Napier might as well just pack his bags.
I'm telling you, they're in big trouble.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, of course, if you're a Tennessee fan, you really don't want that to happen, do you? I mean, you want Florida, since they beat you, to be respectable,
right,
throughout the rest of the year.
18.5 points. I saw a Florida graduate that's on the SEC network this week, and he said that he would not pick Florida to beat anybody by 18. So
I don't know. Of course,
I'm afraid of what he's doing here, Stan, because he's going through these games and he's making this a pretext of just mentioning the lines in there. I think he's setting us up for bold predictions. Yeah. Is what I think he's doing. I think he's trying to subtly push us into making picks later on.
Yeah.
One thing about Vandy, week to week, they're loose as a goose. They really don't have anything to lose, do they, Stan? I mean, Huh?
No, they're not expected to. They're not expected to win any conference games every year. Like that. So, and I think the guy down there they've got down there is doing a pretty good job there. But it's just going to be a long process. But they're just behind the 8 ball, just the way they're being a small school and all that.
I hope after the year's over, and Tennessee's year is over, that they don't look back and say, man, that was a disastrous loss down here in Florida, depending on what Florida does the rest of the year. And that could happen.
Yeah.
That could happen. Western Michigan at Mississippi State. The Bulldogs 20.5-point favorite. Marcus, I would like to think that they could get well today and get them a home win.
They better get well today, because if you let the SEC lose to Western Michigan, there's plenty of people we can replace you with.
Yeah, they may kick them out. We've already took some embarrassing losses, the SEC.
They're missing the Pirate.
Yeah.
And I am too.
Yeah, I am too.
I think those colorful guys in the SEC were always great to look forward to week in and week out. And
they need a win. Mississippi State, as they've kind of got beat at South Carolina and got beat at Alabama, or got beat by Alabama last week. So they need a win in the biggest way.
Yeah.
Well, Mike, word from Mission Control is we've got till 12:15, so we've got 10 minutes left to wrap this with. We're out of commercials because we got all those in the first where we were supposed to be in case we had to cut off. So, bold predictions?
Well, we can just go on into that. I did want to make mention of Tennessee, where we're at this time with them in their schedule and so forth, and everybody's really up, with their win last week against South Carolina, and they're going to have the orange and white checkerboard over there. I'm going to like that a lot better than the black.
Yes.
The orange and white checkerboard against
the stadium. Yeah, I know the fans.
Against Texas A&M, I like that. I think that's a great idea, and that's their true colors. And, heck, we were talking about the black last week. I was surprised. A lot of the people dressed in black.
Oh, yeah, it was. I noticed it.
And we talked about Darth Vader leading them out. They had a guy up there with a Darth Vader outfit on in the stands, and I'm going, holy smoke. I missed him coming out of the tee. Was he down there and leading them out? I don't know.
Mike, people listen to this show.
They must have.
You are an influencer.
I'm telling you, but it looked like, I don't know. Elvira night at the stadium. Everybody was in black.
You was talking about checker in the stadium next week. I did see something that somebody had drawn up and done, photoshopped, and had it checkered orange and black. Instead of orange and white.
Let's not give them any more ideas.
Somebody on Facebook said they were coming out and had a picture. Did you see the picture of the new uniforms they thought they were going to wear in the A&M game? They had checkerboard pants and checkerboard collar deals up here. And I'm telling you, if they would work to wear something like that, it would I don't know. It'd look like the circus, I guess. I don't know what it would look like.
You should always
I didn't think they looked bad. If I had my choice between the black and those checkerboard pants, I'd probably take the orange and white checkerboard pants.
I think you should always let the fans dress tackier than your team.
Yeah.
So as long as they don't get to the point of doing what looks like big orange coveralls, I'm okay. That's where I'm going to draw the line.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about, before we get into these top games, we got 10 minutes. Let's talk about the top 10. Georgia's 5-0 going into this week. Michigan 5-0. Texas 5-0. Ohio State 4-0. Number 5 is Florida State 4-0. Penn State number 6 at 5-0. Washington number 7 at 5-0. Oregon number 8 at 5-0. Number 9 Southern California at 5-0. And Notre Dame number 10 at 5-1. And we talked about, and Oklahoma's is close. And Stan, we talked about Texas and Oklahoma coming in. They were kind of making fun of them a year ago about, hey, they don't know what they're looking. They don't know what they're going to get into here in the Southeastern. Oh, we'll be glad to get them in here, and we can't wait to get them on our schedule. Well, they're not doing too bad so far here early, are they?
No, they're not. They got a big game against each other today that could. And I noticed, I don't know, Marcus, if you knew this, the SEC commissioner is at the Red River rivalry today.
Is that right?
They're not even part of the conference yet.
It's the safest place for him to be because otherwise he's choosing between going to see Georgia or going to see Alabama today.
Yeah. I don't know. I think Penn State's going to hang around throughout the year. They look pretty good. Of course, they got to get over Ohio State and Michigan.
Yeah, that's the thing that's got them the last few years.
They'll have one of those games at home and one on the road. Yeah. And so that's the game that's getting them. And the surprise deal is the Pac-12 out there with Washington, Oregon, and Southern Cal. Right in there, and of course Ohio State and Michigan and Penn State.
Right.
The three best teams there in the Big Ten, and they're all in the same division. If Penn State was over in the other division, it'd be a lot better, But
I'm actually going to throw a fourth team in that division. I don't think Maryland's a bad football team, and they play Ohio State today.
And they're a 21-point dog against Ohio State, but. I don't know. They must be better. That game's in Columbus, Ohio.
Yeah, this year. But it'll be tough to go in there and win. But I think they're pretty good. I think they could probably win the other division too over there. Because the Big Ten other division is just it's just
probably
not
looking at Wisconsin, aren't you? Probably.
Yeah, probably just by default though, isn't it?
Yeah, pretty much.
Maybe Iowa if Iowa can't score.
Yeah.
And so,
well, that's all going to come to a screeching halt next year when the Pac-12 comes in there and they redo their whole deal. So it'd be better. Hey, let's get to the games. Alabama at Texas A&M. Marcus, who you got? Alabama, roughly a 1.5-point favorite down there in College Station.
I'm going with the Aggies. I call me the dark horse guy. I'm going to take the Aggies.
All right, put you down for the Aggies. Stan?
I think I'm going to go with Texas A&M too. I think Jimbo's got Saban's number, and I think that they're going to pull it off today.
I'll tell you what, I'm going to go with Alabama because I saw Saban chewing that guy out on the sidelines last week. I think Saban's back.
Well, now you know why he's possibly hurt.
Yeah. I'll tell you what would be a better rank, Alabama's band or Texas A&M's band. I'll tell you what, there's two pretty good bands right there. That A&M band. They bring that band up here. There's something to watch.
Yeah,
they do a great job. But anyway, that's a great ball game. We'll see what happens. Kentucky at Georgia. Georgia 14 2-touchdown favorite. Stan, number 1 versus number 20.
I'm going to go Georgia.
Bourbon versus Coke.
I think Georgia's going to win the football game. I think this may become a coming out game for them tonight.
You think they'll cover?
I wouldn't go that far.
But you took them with the with the spread.
I'm gonna say they are. Cause like I said, they're going to come out tonight and they're going to win the game.
I'll take Georgia. I'll take Georgia down there. I think they're awful tough down there. I know they've had some subpar games, but I think this is the game that maybe they get well in. They show some. They show what Georgia's capable of doing. Marcus?
It's against my better judgment, but I'm going to go with Kentucky because I just don't know if Georgia's defense can score enough to cover a 14-point cushion because the offense hasn't shown the ability to take a 14-point win.
I just have I have a lot of trouble with Kentucky because I can't remember when, maybe you can stand it, where they've had a really big win against a top 10 team. Have they or have they not? I know they've beaten Florida a few times, but I'm talking about
I can't either, no.
I'm talking about a Georgia or Alabama or a Tennessee.
They don't play Alabama very often, but, I mean, they play Tennessee every year, but it seems like Tennessee beats them every year, too.
Yeah,
they come in with high but this is the year.
When we say, Kentucky's beat Tennessee a couple of times
in the
last 40 years.
Well, yeah, and it's years that Tennessee's way down, like the Dooley era and stuff. They beat them, but
I'm not on board with them yet. Not on board with Texas and Oklahoma and the Red River rivalry. That game's at 12 noon. It's already
Yep.
It's already underway.
In
I like
Texas.
high noon games with big teams like this. You know, Michigan, Ohio State always play at high noon, you know, and up there when they played that classic. But I'll tell you what, I'm going to take and that's on a neutral site.
Yeah, and Texas threw an early interception, and Oklahoma's already in the red zone.
Okay, well, I'm going to take Texas. Marcus?
I'm going to take Oklahoma.
What's the spread again?
5 points, Texas.
I'm going to take Texas, too, even though they're getting ready to be down 7-0.
I'm either going to do really good or really bad this week. I can tell already.
Well, you've gone against pretty much the grain all the way through as far as our pick. Notre Dame, number 10, against Louisville, and Louisville's number 25. That game's in Louisville. Notre Dame's a 6-point favorite. Struggled against Duke last week. Really very, very fortunate to win that football game. And of course, I always think things even out. They probably should have beat Ohio State.
Yep.
You know, they needed a stand right there in the last minute or so, didn't get it. But didn't respond, I don't think, really well against Duke. They couldn't score in the red zone. They got in the red zone, couldn't score. And I looked for them to put a lot more points up against Duke with Sam Hartman than they did. Didn't put up very many. And Louisville, I think Notre Dame, I'm going to let you pick first, Marcus. I think that Notre Dame has beaten, for the record, they've won 30 straight ACC games going into this one.
Wow. And that's embarrassing that the ACC has let them do that without making them join the conference. But they're going to win another one today. So give me the Irish. They're going to make up for it. They're going to atone for some things.
And I think
today.
they're going to. I think Louisville's going to be exposed today. They're not as good as they.
Yeah.
So
I think some of Notre Dame's problem, they're beat up. Their receivers are beat up, Stan, up there. But this is a big game. They need this game to get back to South Bend to play. They got Southern Cal coming up here in a couple of weeks, I think, or pretty soon. LSU at Missouri. Last one before we get out of here. Stan, go ahead.
LSU's coming back. They're bouncing back from last week.
I'm going with LSU too.
Okay, I'm going to go with LSU. We're all LSU. Stan Painter, I appreciate you coming back this week.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, you come back anytime. I'm glad to have you, and appreciate you coming in and being with us. And Marcus, I'll see you next week. And we'll see Donnie Moore next week.
We'll welcome Donnie back. And
I don't know, Charlie might be up here for that Texas A&M game. I don't know.
Well, we'll see. We'll even welcome Charlie back.
Yeah, maybe.
We're going to test the credits. I don't know that Troy's fixed them, but if we don't, we can go out with a final goat call here.
Yeah.
So.
All right. We ready to go?
We got no closer, so let's just close it. Let's just close it with a mic.
That'll do it today for the this edition of the Goatee Sports Page. Thanks to Aaron Ishmael back at Loud Media, our host, the Blue Tick Tavern, and all our sponsors. For Donnie Moore, Marcus Fitzsimmons, and Troy Provo Herod. Until next Saturday, this is Mike Edwards, the Greenfield Gunner, wishing everyone good sports.